Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be recreating this simple macro tracker. This is a simple tracker that you can use to track your daily and weekly macros. And the way it works is that you would add your ingredients here. So as you can see, I already have a few examples entered. So I'm going to enter another one. Let's say I had 4-ounce chicken breast as part of my breakfast. And you can see that it shows up right here with the calories, protein, carbs, fat, and fiber. And then you would repeat the same steps for lunch, dinner, and any snacks that you consume. Up here, you can see a summary of what you planned versus what you actually consumed, the distribution of protein, carbs, and fats. And then that's basically it. You repeat the steps for the 7 days of the week. November 3rd goes all the way through November 8th. When the next week rolls over, you would duplicate this tab and repeat the same process. The other tab I'm going to show you is the ingredients tab. This is what feeds the weekly macros tracker. So all the information that appeared when we selected a meal comes from here. All right, this works for ingredients just like it is arranged now, but you can actually use it for recipes. So if you already have a full recipe with a serving size, you can do that here as well and add your calories, protein, carbs, fiber, and fat information. All right, back here, this is our tutorial checklist. We already did the template overview, so let's cross that off. The next thing we're going to do is build the ingredients tab, which is the setup tab. We'll start with the overall structure. To do this, start with a new sheet. And what I like to do with my new sheets is clean it up, meaning I select the entire thing, assign the font that I like to use, and just change the alignment to what I want. Then I am going to remove the excess rows and columns. So if we go back here to the ingredients tab, you can see that everything after J has been removed. I think this goes down to 500. Yeah, it goes down to 500. So you can actually do something similar or just keep it open-ended. So you can put as many ingredients that you need. All right, so here's our blank sheet. I'm going to name it ingredients 2. All right, and I'm going to remove everything after K. So just delete that. And for the rows, you can remove the excess if you want, or just leave it open-ended. For this, I'm going to remove everything after 200. And it doesn't really matter what you start with because you can always add more. Next, select all of the rows. So I'm going to resize them. So right click, change that to 30, and select the first column and the last column. So A and J, resize, change that to 30 as well. All right, okay, so back here, we'll adjust the columns a little bit. So this column is going to be wider because that's what the ingredient is going to be. And then this column is for the category. So these two are wider and the rest of them are the standard column size. So let's do that now. So column B and I, we're going to make that 200. And then the rest we'll leave at 100. Here's where the header is going to go. We're going to start with putting borders around the different areas. So outer borders for the header, and here outer border for the entire table. And we need a border here as well. This is where the header for each column is going to go. All right, and then for the header, this area in the corner is going to be used to create a filter, a highlighting option. Here is what that looks like. So if you want to highlight the ingredient, all you need to do is select it from here and highlight it here. So that's what this is for. So we'll create the space for that. So first the header goes here. So let's merge that and make sure that has its own border. And this is where the highlighting area is going to be created. So select the entire area. We're going to merge it, but not using the actual merge button. Select the arrow and we want to merge horizontally. So we have one row here and another row here. All right, so far so good. The last thing I'm going to do is put internal borders. So we're going to select the entire table, but just the actual inner table area. Go to all borders, use the horizontal borders, but we really don't want this color. At least I don't. You can choose to use it if you want. And I'm going to use this dark gray color and change the border style to the dotted line. It's hard to see now, but once we remove the grid, you should be able to see it clearly. And then this should also have the same horizontal border. So we have the general structure done. You can add whatever header you want. So if you want to call this your food ingredient list, you can do so. If you're going to be using it for recipes, you can call it your recipe list. And of course, since we have a lot of space, we can make this a lot bigger. So make it 24 and bold. And here we'll just type highlight ingredient. Next, we're going to add our headers. I'm going to be reusing the information here, but you can pause the video and see what I'm using. Basically, food ingredients, serving size, calories, protein, carbs, fat, and fiber. By the way, you're not limited to these 4. So if there's something else you want to track, so maybe you want to track your potassium or sodium, you can certainly add another column and do so. All right, so back here, paste, values only. I'll just highlight this and make it bold so it stands out. So back to our checklist, we're done with the general structure, so let's cross that off. Now we're going to add in placeholders and conditional formatting. Before we add the placeholders, I want to show you this column right here. This calorie column, right now it is calculated based on the amount here. So there's a formula for calories, and here's what that looks like. You're multiplying the proteins by 4, the carbs by 4, and the fats by 9. And that's how you create the amount for calories. So you can choose to do so if your source gives you protein, carbs, and fat, and you wanted to calculate the calories automatically for this serving size. However, if your food ingredient source or your recipe source already comes with calories, then you can just ignore this formula and type over it. All right, so that being said, I'm going to copy this placeholder information and reuse it in the example. You can do the same, meaning you can use placeholder data, or if you already have the real data you want to use, go ahead and add it to your table. All right, so here is my table with placeholder information. You notice that I did not use the formula. If your source already includes the serving size and the calories that go with that serving size, all you have to do is just copy and paste that information. All right, so we're going to leave this as is without the formula. Next, we're going to add this filter right here. So if I wanted to quickly search for a food ingredients, let's just say some type of fish. All right, I can clear everything, select fish, select all of them. Okay, now the only thing that shows up is anything that has fish. And you can do this for every column. The other thing that this is good for is to sort. So right now, this is already alphabetical. If you wanted to sort it the other way around, you can do sort and it shows up like this. So it's good for sort, it's good for filter, and a few other things. It's nice to have it as part of your table. So to add this to our table, we're going to select the entire table all the way down, right? And go up here, right here that says create a filter, and click it once, and it applies the filter to the entire table. All right, so next we're going to work on this highlight ingredient right here. So first we need to add a drop down here so we can select the food ingredient from here, and then we'll add a conditional formatting formula to help us with the highlight. So let's do that next. So to do this, click on that cell, go to data validation, add role. We're going to do drop down from range, select the icon to select the range. And I'm just selecting a few because I can remove the last rows, and click OK, and it selects everything all the way down. Scroll all the way down, advanced options. I'm going to change the style to arrow, but really you can use whatever style you want. It's not going to affect the functionality. So I'll change it to arrow, click done. All right. And now you can see that I can select any food ingredient that I want here. To highlight this, we need to add a formula. Here's what that looks like. We're going to apply the formula to the entire table. So here is where if you're not using the exact same rows, ranges, and columns that I'm using, you want to pay attention to how the formula works so you can rearrange your formula if you're not using the exact same rows that I'm using. My advice is use the ones that I'm using right now. Make your templates. Later on, if you want to make changes to the location, how things look, you could always do it, and the formulas would actually adapt automatically. All right, so the first part of the formula says B5, and that is because the first ingredient cell is located in B5. And then you can see H3 here, and H3 is right here, right? This is the place that contains the drop down that we're going to use to select the food name. So those are the two core areas. So if you're not using this exact location, just change B5 to where your first food ingredient is, and change H3 to where your drop down box is for the list of ingredients. So we're going to copy this and let's apply the conditional formatting. So we're going to select the entire area, add rule. I only selected this area because what I'm going to do is remove the number from the last column and it selects everything. So I don't have to scroll all the way down, especially if you have a really long table. Change the format rule to custom formula, paste the formula here. And now you can see it automatically recognizes the ingredient here and it applies the highlight color. Now you can change it to whatever you want. I'll keep it as the original. So using yellow. I'll add a bold just to make it pop a little bit and click done. Now we can test it out, select whatever ingredient we want, and it highlights it like so. Next, we're going to apply this category drop down. Now for this template, this category is used to organize the food ingredients based on macro. So if it's carbs, proteins, fats, or a combination. You don't have to use this column if you don't want to. And actually you can use it for another purpose. It's basically just helping you organize the table. So for example, if you're using it for a recipe, you can organize it by breakfast, lunch, dinner. And if you wanted a filter to see your breakfast meals or your breakfast ingredients, you would use it for that reason. So that's all it's there for. Or if you don't want to use it at all, you can delete it. The template will still work fine. Since we copied ingredients here, what we're going to do is just convert this to a drop down. And to do this, again, select a few of the cells, data validation. And we're going to leave it as drop down. Right now, we only have protein. We can add another item. Actually, before we do that, let's adjust the range. So remove 20. So it selects everything all the way down. And now we're going to add more options. So here we have fats. We're going to add, all right, and that is included. You see that arrow goes away. So if we add carbs, fruits, see that arrow goes away. So you can do it one of two ways. So start with the drop down and add your categories and then later on paste them. Or if you already have them added, you can create the drop down retrospectively and it should still work. And click done. Once you're done adding all of them, and this is what it looks like. So the next thing we're going to do is apply color. And usually I don't go over what color you should apply because everyone's use case is going to be different. Everyone has a different taste. But what I like to show is how to apply color. So instead of selecting the color from this color range, I normally recommend you using these colors here, this custom colors, because it just allows you to make changes in the future very easily if you need to. And I do have a short video dedicated to how and why I do that, and I'll leave that in the link below so you can go ahead and check it out. For now, I'm going to use the colors I have here into my template tab. So here's the template with the colors applied. Now we can remove the grid. To do this, go to View, Show, Grid Lines. And here is the final template, essentially identical to what we have here, except for the formula, which we chose not to add in this example. Back to our tutorial checklist, let's cross this off. The next step would be to start working on the weekly macro tracker tab. Start with a blank sheet and clean it up. Select the fonts I want and the alignments. So I've renamed the sheet Weekly Macros Tracker 2. And if we go back here, you can see that it goes down to 38, so everything after 39 is removed. And here we don't need to remove any columns. We actually need to add some more. So we're going to leave it as is for now, except for obviously removing the excess rows. So delete the excess rows and now select everything, all the rows, resize that to 30. And I'm going to select the first column and the last column here. And when I need to add new columns, I'll add them to the left of the last column. So resize this columns to 30. All right, just to give me the general structure that I like. And then let's go back here. So we'll start with this table area and finish up with creating the summary table and this chart. So the nice thing about this is we only have to do it once, meaning once we create this, all we need to do for the rest of them is to copy it and paste it 6 more times. So let's start with this area here. The first column is going to be narrow because that's what's going to hold our breakfast, lunch, dinner. And the next 2 columns here would be for ingredients. So we're going to need to merge them for the ingredients tab. And the rest of the columns will not need to be changed. So let's do that first. So column B, select that, resize that to 30. All right, and the table is going to start from row 9 and go all the way to K. So starting here, all the way to column K, and select this big rectangle and add our border around it. All right, so here's our table. This is going to be our table header, so add a border around it as well. Here's going to be where we'll add breakfast, lunch, dinner. So I'm selecting the entire range, add a border around it. This is where the ingredient is going to go. So select the entire area, merge horizontally. And then I'm going to add some internal borders. Select the entire range, borders, internal borders, but I'll change it obviously to this lighter gray color and to the dotted line. Next, I'm going to create this section. So for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So this goes from 10 all the way down to 16, and they're equally divided for all categories. The nice thing about this is if you need to add more. So for example, if you create a smoothie every morning and you want to add different ingredients for the smoothie and you have up to 10 different ingredients, just add more rows. That will not break the template. All you do is add more rows and make sure the formulas are copied into those rows and you should be fine. So we'll start with this general structure for now. So back here, 10 to 16, this is where breakfast is going to be. So select this entire range. What I want to do is add a thick bottom border. So select the color here, this darker color, change it to this and do bottom border. So you can see we have that here. And then you can just copy this, use the paint format, paste it here, and do it one more time. Paste it here for lunch. This will be for dinner. For some reason, it cuts it off here. Not sure why, but not a problem. We can go back here and reapply the top and the bottom. All right. And then if you want, you can add one at the bottom as well. All right. And now we can merge these cells. Okay. So this is going to be merged and we can use the paint format here as well. So we're going to merge the cells that are equal in size. So the paint format will just copy and paste the format from the previous ones. All right, and this is going to say breakfast. All right, but we don't want it to look like this. So what we're going to do is select that. Go to text rotation right here. We're going with the 5th option right here, the one that says rotate up. So it looks like this. We select all of them because we want it to be applied to all of them. Go back there and make sure rotate up is selected. So now when we type lunch, it should show up correctly, dinner and snacks. All right, so far so good. Next, we're going to apply these headers here. And what's nice is that except for the quantity, we already have the same ones here. So we can copy everything from here all the way to servants. We're going to copy that. This is going to be ingredient, quantity. And now we're going to paste what we copied, paste values only because we don't want the formatting to transfer over. So now we have our headers done. Next, we're going to work on creating the structure here. So we'll start with this one because it's pretty straightforward. From row 2 to 8, G to K, we need a rectangle that is merged. So let's do that next. All right, so we have G to K right here from row 2 to row 8, add a border around it and merge it. That's it. All right, so for this table here, we're going to do it slightly different. So if you notice, I only have calories, carbs, protein, and fats, but here I have added fiber. So when I created this table originally, I did not have this column for fiber. So now that we have this extra, we also wanted to show up here. So what we're going to do is use the same structure, but instead of merging these 2 rows for the dates, we're going to use 1 row for the date. So let's do that part first. So here's going to be the summary table. So we'll add another outline. And here's where we're going to add the dates. So instead of merging these 2 rows for the dates, I'm just going to merge one first and then add an outline. This is going to be a date picker option. So we want to add that feature. Go to data, data validation, add rule, change it to is valid dates. Select reject input, check the box, click done. So when we double click, we can select whatever date we want. I like the formats to be different. So we're going to change the format by going here to format, number, go to custom date and time, and select however you want it to display. I want it to display the day and the date like so. So click apply. So it looks like this. I can make it bold so it stands out. And then let's work on this table next. So this is going to be the header area for the column, so we can add a border around it. If we go back here, we need to add values, plan, actual, and leftover. So here is where you add your plan, so what you want to do, your goal, and the actual numbers would come from this table right here automatically. So as you can see, it's controlled by formulas. So we focus on just the structure though. So here is values, plan, actual, and leftover. So we have two columns here for values. So select the entire range, all right, from the header all the way down to the last row. Go to merge cell and do merge horizontally. All right, so now we have our values as the column header, and the different values are going to go here. So calories, protein, carbs, fat, and fiber. All right, and here's the plan, or you can change it to goal if it makes more sense for you, actual and leftover. All right, so I want to do internal borders here as well. So select the entire thing, use horizontal internal borders, and change it to the gray color and dotted line. The last thing, of course, is to enter colors. And like I said before, I'm going to be reusing these colors here. Go ahead and add whatever colors that you want. All right, so here is what it's looking like. Now back to our tutorial checklist. All right, so we're done with this too. Just cross it off. Next, we're going to add our formulas. So back here, we have formulas that we need to add here and formulas to create the summary table. So the first formula is only going to pull in the serving size. And then the second formula, which is the one here, is going to pull in the same thing, but what it's doing different from the serving size is that it's taking into consideration the quantity. So I mentioned this before, is that when you enter information in the tab, you're going to enter your calories and your macros relative to the serving size. But what happens when you eat half of the serving size or double or triple the serving size? That's where this quantity comes in. So for the serving size, we only want to filter it without the quantity so we can actually adjust what we have consumed using the quantity here, which is why when we filter the serving size, we want it to match exactly what it is in the ingredients tab. But for the calories, it's still matching that information, but it's going to take the quantity into consideration. So here's what the formula looks like. It's similar to the one we used to pull in the serving size. The only difference is now we're actually multiplying by the quantity. All right, so before we enter the formulas, we're going to add this drop-down list so we can select the ingredients from our table. I can double click, select whatever I want, and the values here update accordingly. So first, let's add our drop-down. So back here, just make this smaller. Here's where our drop down is going to go in this section right here. So select everything, go to data, data validation, add rule, drop down from range, select the icon to select the range, go to ingredients 2, select this range, and I'm only selecting a few because I can remove the row number and it selects everything automatically. Hit OK. And then you can see that everything here has been entered into the drop down area. I'm scrolling all the way down because I want to open the advanced section and change it to plain text. So you can use the chip option, which is what it looks like here. If you like that stuff, nothing wrong with that. But for this, I want to keep it as plain text so that it blends into the table. It still works like a drop down. All you need to do is double click and you should be able to select whatever you need from the drop down. So that first step is done. Let's go back here. Now we're going to grab some formulas. All right. The first formula is the one here. This is going to be responsible for pulling the serving size from the ingredients tab. So if we go back here, you can see the serving size is here next to the ingredient tab. So this formula is going to look at the selection we have here, right? And it's going to go back to the tab and match that with the ingredient list we have here. And once it finds a match, it's going to pull the correct serving size. So that's how it works. The other formula is going to do something similar, but it's going to take the quantity into consideration. So if you look at this formula here, it's referencing this ingredient just like the other one did. The only difference is that now we're taking the quantity into consideration. So it's going to pull the calories, protein, carbs, and fat, but then it's going to multiply it by the quantity we actually consume. So for example, if we consume a medium banana, but we eat 2 of the medium bananas, we can adjust this to 2 and it increases the calories, protein, carbs, and fats accordingly. So that's how it works. We'll start with the first one. I'm going to copy the formula. I'll leave it on the screen so you can go ahead and copy it too and paste it right here. All right, under serving, and it should work automatically because I'm using the same ranges for these 2 templates. But if you're not, make sure you change the ranges within the formulas to match the ones that you're using. All right, so right now, the ground beef is 4 ounces. Let's change to something else. Let's say egg whites, and we have 3 tablespoons. Do one more. Salmon, that's also 4 ounces. All right, so this part is working. Next, we're going to pull in the formula that would filter in all of these, of course, taking this into consideration. So here's that formula. Let's just copy it. Go ahead and paste it here. And this formula is going to pull all of them at once. So calories, protein, carbs, and fat. So you can see right here, it's from column D to column H. And if we go to our ingredients tab, it's column D to column H. So it's pulling all of these at once. All right, so back here, okay, make sure that we hit enter to activate the formula. So we have our formula here, but it says 0, and that's because we need to adjust the quantity. So when we type 1, it gives us the values for 4-ounce serving. If I change this to 2, now everything doubles. So it gives us that flexibility where we can use the same serving size, but increase or decrease the quantity that we have consumed. Now that we have our working formulas, let's copy this entire row, all right? And we're going to select the rest of the range all the way down, right click. We're going to use paste formula only. All right, so right now nothing shows, and that's because we don't have anything selected here or here. So let's add one more. Let's say ground beef. All right, so you can see it shows us the serving size, and this is 0 until we add our serving size. The next thing I want to show you is how to handle fractions. Here we have 1, but what if you only ate half of 4 ounces, so 2 ounces? You don't want to change it here because it's been filtered from your ingredients tab. So here's where you're going to change it. So instead of 1, change it to 0.5, and it will adjust the values here automatically. If you want it to show up as fractions, you need to change the formatting. To do so, go ahead and select the entire area, go up to Format, Number, Custom Number Format, and here is where you're going to change it. This is the one we're currently using, which is the decimal place. Here is the one for fractions. So if you want to do this, go ahead and select this. Before I select this, I want to show you what happens if we try to add fractions without this formatting. So I'm going to cancel out of this. So instead of 0.5, let's say I want to enter half. So 1/2. So everything is messed up. And if I click on this, you see that it's actually showing up as a date. It's not showing up as fraction. If I click on this, it shows up as 2. If I click on this, it shows up as 2nd of January. So we need to add that formatting. So let's delete that. Select everything one more time. Back to Format, Number, Custom Number Format. And now we're going to select this. You see the whole number and the fraction right here? That's the one you're looking for. So click that, click Apply. And right here, 0.5, it changes to half. If I add 0.25, it changes to 1/4. If I add 0.75, it changes to 3/4. So that's how you would adjust it. And the math works the way it's supposed to. There is another way to do it though. So if I go back to my example here, you can see that I have drop downs and I can select it and it doesn't show up as a date. If you want to know how to do it, let me know in the comment section, and I can make a separate video focused on how you work with decimal places and formatting. So now we have all our formulas here. Let's work on the formulas in this area. Back here, let's start with copying and pasting these values right here. And I'm going to add fiber right here. So the next column is where you would add your plan or your goals for the day. So how many calories, carbs, etc. you want to consume for that day. I'm going to reuse the values I have here. All right, so I'm just going to paste it and add one more for fiber. The next one would be the actual. So here's where the formula is going to go. Switch over to the example. This column represents the total number of calories we consume for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks for that day. So it's essentially the sum of the values we have here. It's a very straightforward formula. If I double click here, you can see it's just the sum of this column, etc. So pretty straightforward. So let's do the same here. It would be equal sum and select this entire range all the way down and hit enter. So now if we double click this, 507.5 is the sum of these two. Let's add one more just to make sure the formula works. Chicken breast. And you can see that this amount increases the total number of calories consumed. Now we're going to do the same for the rest. Equal sum, and carbs is in column I. So select that range all the way down, enter. And it says 0. Let's change that to something else. All right, change it to cherries. And you can see now we have some carbs showing up here. And do the same thing for protein, fats, and fiber. And the last column is the leftover. So we're going to subtract the actual from the plan. So it would be column E minus column D. So equals this cell, column E4 minus column D4. All right, hit enter and copy this formula. Select the entire range, right click and formula only. So if we double click, you can see it's subtracting this from this, etc. One more thing we can do that I don't have here is to use conditional formatting to change the colors here. You can change the color to green. And if you have gone over, you can change it to red. So select this range. Go to conditional formatting, and we're going to select one of these rows. So we'll start with the deficit. So if it's less than 1, all right, that means it's going to be negative. We can add our formatting row. So let's use this green color. Hit done. Add another row. We want to use the same range. So just make sure the same range is selected. And now we want to use is greater than. So the actual is greater than the plan. So greater than 1. So put 1 here. Change it to red. So let's use this red color and hit done. All right, so right now everything is green because we haven't consumed enough calories for the day. So let's add some for lunch and dinner. All right, so up here you can already see that we have exceeded some of them. The goal for our calories is 1200 and we're at 1918. So we have the red activated here. But for fiber, we haven't consumed enough, so we need to consume 15 more grams. So it works the way it's supposed to. The last thing we want to do is add our charts, this one right here. And this chart represents a breakdown of our macros. So back here, Select this range, so carbs, protein, and fat, and this range, the actual values for the macros. By the way, to select both at the same time, use Command or Control and then drag down to select. After you've selected both, go up here, look for the insert chart icon, click on it, and it's going to automatically select a chart style. We're going to change the chart style, select pie chart, and then now we need to make some changes down here. So the label is showing up here, B5 to B7, which is fine. We want the values to show up here. Click on add value. All right, so sometimes this doesn't work directly. We have to remove the label. So go ahead and remove this. So click on these three dots, remove label. Now the values show up here automatically. We can go ahead and add the label to it. So click on add label and select B5 to B7. And now it shows up like this. So it's a pie chart. You can leave it like this if you want. If you want to change it to the donut chart, go to customize. And then while I'm here, I'm going to make a few more modifications. I'm going to remove the background color and the border color so I can pull it in here. So let's just do that right now. Pull it into this space. All right, and then I can go to pie chart and then I can adjust the donut hole. So if I want to use 75%, it looks like this. You can actually type over this, so you don't have to use the preset. So if you want something thinner, you can go with 8% and it looks like this, 85% and it looks like this. You can go as thin or thick as you want to. And if you want to make it look even fancier, you can click on border color, change it to white, and it gives you this look, which I like to use every now and then. So we're done with this entire section. And next we're going to copy it and paste it to the rest of the sections. So first thing we're going to do is create our separator column. So resize this to 30. Select everything here, copy, and we're going to paste it right here. Before we continue, let's make a few changes. I'm going to resize this to 30. All right, so it matches what we have here. And I'm going to delete the entries we have here, both the ingredients and the quantity. Just delete them. Delete the date we selected here. We're going to do equals this date right here +1. So now it shows November 14th and this is November 15th. All right, so instead of using this one, now we're going to copy this and use it instead. Before we paste it, let's add more columns. We only have a few columns left, so we need a lot more columns. So I'm just going to add a few more. So back here, you can see I added a lot more columns all the way to BT. So we'll leave this blank. Go ahead and paste the next one here. So you can see that the columns don't match the one we have here, but that's not a problem. Just go back to the cell here, right click, paste special, and do column width only. Now you can see it does look identical. We'll repeat this 4 more times. So I ended up having to add, so it goes all the way down to BZ. So now you can see we have November 14th, 15th, 16th, resize this column to 30, 16th, 17, 18, 19, 20. All right, so that's enough for a whole week. And then for the chart, so we're going to copy this chart, but we're going to need to adjust the range. So copy chart, go to the next section, paste it right here. So these two charts are identical because they're reading the same range. So this is getting the information from this range. This is getting information from this range. It's not going to update automatically. We need to change it manually. Double click to open it up and you can see the ranges here. Click here and reselect the range. So this is the range we want. And then for this, we're going to click here and reselect the range. So it's going to be this range right here. Click OK. And then now we have the chart, but it's blank because we don't have anything here. Let's enter a quantity. So let's say 2. And now you can see it shows up the way it's supposed to. Let's do one more. Paste it, go back here, select the data range icon, select the first range, go here, select the second range, click OK, select an ingredient, add a quantity, and it updates accordingly. So just go ahead and repeat the same steps for here. All right, so back to our checklist. We are at the end of this tutorial. So we've completed this step and this step. I do want to mention my Patreon. So first of all, thank you for the Patreon members that I currently have. Thank you very much for your support. So this template, this one that we have created here, will be available to my Patreon members. So go ahead and log into your account and make a copy of the template. If you are not part of my Patreon, I will leave a link down below so you can go ahead and check it out. Before we wrap things up, I want to show you the 2 templates I have. I have 2 templates for sale. One is a basic meal planner, just like the one we created here with more functionality. And then the second one contains a recipe database. So let's open up the first one so I can show you what that looks like. All right, so here's the first one. Very similar to what we created. You have an ingredients tab and you have your weekly section. So everything's already done for you. Each tab has 7 days, right, already prepared. All you have to do is enter your information. It will also have summary charts, so it adds up everything that you have entered for each daily section. In addition to the daily section, we have a weekly summary area so you can see how you did for the entire week, and you have a shopping list area. This area will automatically be created from the meals that you have added here, and then over here you can add things to your shopping list manually. All right, this is the second one, and this is the one that has the recipe database. So we have a setup tab. This is what the recipe database looks like. So you can add up to 50 recipes per section. So 50 breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snack. So you can have up to 200 recipes in this database. It also has a section for just ingredient list. So if you want to track your ingredients, you can do so as well as tracking meals. And then we have our weekly tab. So we have week 1, week 2. But what's nice about this is that it can be used for 52 weeks. You can start whatever date you want. And then you can create additional weekly tabs based on the dates here. And this version has a dashboard so you can select a week and it shows you what your week was like and it shows you a summary for that week. All right, so that's where we're going to wrap things up today. As usual, links will be down below. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. If this video was helpful to you, please give it a like. It goes a long way to help my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.